Do we have time to take another call? Okay. Let's take a call from Amy from Cyprus. Amy, did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
I have both.
Go ahead.
It's been like kind of stressed out by all this. I've been in litigation for custody of my son since he was, let's see, almost 4 years now. I had the child of my son out of wedlock to my ex-boyfriend, and so how do I say this? Because it's a really long and messed up story. Basically, my husband and I, who I'm with now, when I was 19, almost, I was 20 years old, we had already been married for like 6 years. And we got a divorce, and in that time, I was only divorced from him for about a year and a half. And in that year and a half, I got with one of our friends, thinking that I knew him and all that stuff, yada, yada. Well, I'd accidentally gotten pregnant. And after I got pregnant, his true colors shined, and he started trying to abuse me. And he smacked me, spit on me, do all sorts of stuff to me. But I was lucky enough to have my husband's sister, who lived down the street. She came and saved me, and so I moved back with my parents in Nevada for a couple months, and my ex-husband and I reconciled. So I moved back out here to California, where he is, in Cyprus, and we already have another child together. He's 12 now. And so he was dad. He was there throughout the whole pregnancy. He totally accepted being dad. He was more ecstatic than ever to be dad. He cut the cord. Every first of that baby was with him. But he also advocated heavily for my ex, just because he said that if he wants to be a dad, he wants to be in his life, and let's make that possible. Let's make this just a big happy family. So we did that for four years. We were actually able to just do it as a big happy family thing, and we ended up going to court just to have a parenting plan, make him at ease. And the parenting plan was that I had full custody physically, but then we shared legal, and then he would come 2 weekends every month to have him for the weekends, because he lived over 600 miles away, which he still does. And that worked for the first 4 years. And even though the first 2 years he didn't really come at all, and we told him, if you're going to come, you need to come, because the baby doesn't understand. You have to just be here. So 4 years that worked, and then all of a sudden there was 2 visits. My son came home, and just things weren't right. He started having night terrors. He started wetting the bed. Just things that weren't right to me. So I started studying child psychology and child traumatic psychology, and started realizing these little things that were happening with him that just weren't. It was a big red flag. And then there was one particular visit where he came home, and he just was like a robot. He had to know where his dad was, and then usually my ex, before he would leave, he would converse with me and say, hey, this is when I'm going to come. This is how the visit went, and we'd all just kind of hang out, and then he would go. Well, this time he didn't talk to me. He slammed his truck door, and he peeled tires out the driveway, and he wouldn't answer my calls, and I just thought that was weird. When I walked back inside, my son, who was 3 and a half, almost 4 at the time, he was in my room with my son under my blankets, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And I walked in the room, and he pulled the blankets down and went, where's my daddy? And I said, he left. And he's all, no, where's my daddy? And I was all, you mean daddy? He's all, where's my daddy? And he's in the garage. So he runs in the garage, and the second he sees my husband, I'm sorry, it's because I'm a little upset every time. I was talking about, my son, when he was 3 and a half years old, yes, he came home from a visitation with his dad, and he'd asked me where his daddy was, and I said he left, and he said, no, where's my daddy, he was implying my husband. I told him he's in the garage, and he runs out, and once he sees my husband, he ran to him saying, daddy. It was like a lump. You could hear that he was trying not to cry, and like he wrapped his arms. It was like seeing a movie. He wrapped his arms so tight around my husband's neck, I immediately knew in my stomach there was something very wrong. And so then my husband's trying to pull him off of him, and he just looked at me, he's like, what's going on? And when he finally pulled him far enough away from him, he saw that he had tears running down his face, and he goes, daddy, I just love you. And then he wrapped his hands around his neck, and my husband said, go get the iPad and record everything. And I said, okay. He said, no, there's something wrong. And so when I pulled him inside, I looked at him, and he's all, mommy, I don't want to die. And I was like, why do you think, what 3.5-year-old tells you that they don't want to die? Like, that's unimaginable to me. So we're laying down in bed, and I try and get him to just, calm down. He goes to sleep, and about midnight, he wakes me up and says, Mommy, why would my dad tell me, or he says, why did Brian, just what he calls him for whatever reason, and I never understood it, she just was like, no, but he's my, daddy is my daddy, So I finally came to the conclusion that he was being told that, no, I'm your daddy, that's not your daddy kind of thing, just the alienating thing. But he hugs me at like 12 o'clock at night, and he looks at me and goes, Mommy, he says he's going to kill me and he's going to hurt you badly. And I'm like, who says this? And he goes, my other dad, my dad, my father, daddy. And I'm like, what? He wouldn't, Jacob, you're crazy. There's no way. He said, and then he had that lump in his throat again, and then he started crying. He goes, but Mommy, he says it hurts to die. And this is, you mind me, he's 3.5 years old. So, of course, immediately I just took precaution and, okay, what's the next step? So I took my son to the hospital the very next day to his primary care physician and had her and the hospital's child psychiatrist just to kind of listen to him without me in the room. And everything that he said to me, he had apparently said back to them. And so I had the doctor put in a note and everything for court and stuff, but this is before we decided to go to court. I just had everything kind of ready. And so then they asked me, why didn't you just call the cops? And I was like, because I'm not trying to say that my ex was abusing him, because what if it was just something that was a bad dream or something that happened that he just didn't take care of it the right way or something like that? Because I didn't want the fact that my son's being abused to be the truth. That couldn't be real, because that to me is just, and it makes me so mad. But so then we end up going through this. I call my ex and I asked him, I'm like, hey, something happened? Because I told him just flat out what Jacob, what we were told, and he doesn't even say anything. After that, all he says was, well, I want to take Jacob for 2 weeks up north. And I'm like, absolutely not. He's 3 years old. He's never been away from home. You can come here like you've always been coming here and take him for the weekend, but that's it. And so then I had no communication with him for 6 months. He just stopped communications. And then the next thing I know, I got papers in the mail for modification of child support and custody, and which I found odd because we had a parenting plan, but the problem was that the case needed to be refiled because for whatever reason, my case was filed as a divorce case and not a parentage case.
Well, hold on, Amy, hold on a second.
Yes.
So you're telling me about a family law case right now, correct?
Yes. Well, and CPS is involved in it.
Okay. Tell me directly how CPS is involved.
Well, unfortunately, I called them like an idiot, thinking that they could help me or help my son. When I went to the hospital, she said, okay, well, I'll put in a note to have them come out to the house and speak with him, because I wanted to make sure that I had an unbiased opinion of what was going on with my son. So they came out here to the house, and I found it odd because I opened the door. I was like, wow, you guys got here fast. And she's like, well, how'd you know it was coming? I was like, well, I'm the one that called you. I had the doctor call you guys, and I had them come out here twice. Again, like an idiot, not thinking that they were going to screw over my entire case. And because of them, now I haven't seen or talked to my son in almost 4 years.
4 years?
It's been 4 years.
Did they open up a CPS case, or it's still a family law case?
No, they had it open, and then they closed it, and they never talked to me about anything. I think they closed it. I've tried to call them and get information on what was going on with it, and all they said that it was an unfounded case, but then they had communications with the judge, and the judge was saying that from what he was being heard from CPS, that I have no credit. My credibility is shot. So ever since my very first hearing, the judge has hated me.
Okay,
literally hated me.
You went to a hearing at the Lamoureux Justice Center?
Yes, I did.
And it was a CPS courtroom?
No, it was a regular courtroom.
Regular family law courtroom?
Yeah.
Okay. Did the judge
Did
the judge in that case order you not to have any visitation?
He didn't originally. I had full custody, and my ex only had visitation. And after the first hearing, the first hearing continued. And even though I asked for continuance to get counsel, he still then made orders for my ex to take my son. And so I was like, I found that weird. And so then I got my attorney, and then the attorney that I got was apparently one of the worst I could possibly get. He had fraud all over. He had been in trouble a million times, and he really, really, really screwed me over, like bad. So I fired him that day after court. I said, "There's no more. That you completely threw this case like in just the deepest hole possible." He made the judge even more so hate me. And then after that, I went and I got another attorney. And he was, I thought, good for a minute, but then he just would not, any evidence, he wouldn't put it in. Anything, like my case, like I said, it was supposed to be a parentage case. It was filed as a divorce case. We were never married. We were never anything. So this now has all concluded 4 years later to, just like I told them, we can't go to judgment because there's no DODs, there's none of that can be done because we were never married. So I've been telling the judges since day one.
Do you have an attorney in your case right now?
No, I've spent over almost $200,000 on attorneys, and I've gotten further without one, unfortunately. I hate to say that. I've even tried to appeal. We try to get a stay of the orders to get my son given back to me, and then to then have a writ of mandate done, and that didn't. They summarily denied it, and so that was wonderful. And then ever since then, I had my attorney, then I had my appeals attorney, and then when that didn't go, both my attorneys kind of just stopped trying completely, and they said, "Well, I don't know what to do for you, Amy." And then I was lucky to have then another attorney who's brilliantly minded, but he ended up getting into some head-on car accident and didn't get help, and he ended up literally, when I say literally going crazy, he would call me at 2 o'clock in the morning and talk about Jews and Nazis. So,
well, Amy, let me do this because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
What I want you to do is call my office tomorrow,
Okay.
888-888-6582. Make an appointment.
I have your information.
Make an appointment to talk to me because maybe I can go over your case and make some suggestions for you.
That
Amy,
would be absolutely wonderful.
Amy, thank you for calling. Keep listening, and maybe you can give us an update in a few weeks.
That'd be awesome. And I wanted to say before we leave the air that I cannot tell you how sorry I am that you had to go through this when you were a child, because I know my kids are probably going through it just the same as you are, and it could only be, my son was only 4 when he was taken from me, and he was taken from me in the worst way you could possibly imagine. But I want to say thank you for everything you guys are doing, because there's not very many out there like you, so God bless you, and thank you for everything that you're doing.
All right, thank you, Amy.